Welcome to this week's Rider Support.
This week we're going to talk about the Rapha Festive 500, managing your weight over the festive period. But first, I try to rapid fire guess what cycling sponsors actually do. Sarah,
Anthony.
the rapid fire suggestions.
Yeah, people love riding in with these. Okay, let's crack in. Anthony, I work in the marketing industry and I'm always amazed at how poorly cycling teams give return to their sponsors. Most people have no idea what cycling sponsors are. I challenge you to tell me what these companies do. It's true, isn't it? We don't really know what a lot of the companies are.
Not
they're quite
brilliant at activating the sponsorships.
Yeah, they're quite local, the local companies.
No, I don't know if that's fair. Some of them are local, but I just think they're generally bad at, they sign the deal and that's kind of it done. They don't really activate. Like my whoosh is a classic example of like, it's on the back of the UAE shorts and almost no one knows what my whoosh is.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I did last year I think it was maybe the year before for Tour de France Femme avec Zwift. I actually gave a shout out to the sponsors at the end of each podcast just to kind of make people more aware of what they actually do. So I'm pretty familiar with who these sponsors are, what their business is, but are you?
Let's see. Wes can edit in like a big X or tick.
We'll start off with an easy one. You definitely know this one. Alpe de Koenig.
Alpecin is... What's my time limit on answering these? 3 seconds? Okay, we'll say I'll get the rapid fire. 3 seconds. Alpecin is shampoo. De Koenig is, I'm going to say windows or floors.
Yes, well done. Okay, next one is Team Visma Lease a Bike. So second part of that's easy, but the first part...
Lease a Bike obviously leases bikes. They're B2B leasing company. Visma... Insurance company?
Nope. But there are a lot of insurance companies, but this one is Visma is a Norwegian software company providing business solutions. That's quite interesting. Okay, Bahrain Victorious.
Not an ocean. Let me guess. It's he makes luxury yachts for people in the UAE.
That's a poor guess. So Bahrain is basically backed by the Kingdom of Bahrain and promotes the nation through sports. And they put the word victorious on the end of it to symbolise their pursuit of success in cycling competitions.
I wouldn't have got that with 100 guesses.
Okay, next one you definitely know. Ineos Grenadiers.
They're destroying the planet with plastic.
It's a chemicals company. And what does Grenadiers refer to?
That's the truck.
That's the car. Yeah, basically it symbolises the automotive brand showcasing high performance off-road vehicles. Next one I think everyone maybe knows. Movistar team.
It's a cell phone provider?
Yeah, it's not a cell phone, internet. You know when you go to Spain and you're logging into
as well. Okay.
You're logging into the Wi-Fi. It's always under Movistar. Okay, Intermarché Wanty.
Intermarché, I would say, is a supermarket.
Yes.
One day is someone on the team's rich dad.
Yes, I don't know, but it's a Belgian construction and engineering firm. So you never would have got that one. Okay, and the last one that we're going to cover is XDS Astana team.
XDS software and Astana. It's something in Kazakhstan. Is it like oil production in Kazakhstan, or is the Kazakhstan government?
Yeah, your geography is terrible, and your
Astana's Kazakhstan.
Yeah, no, but it's the capital city of Kazakhstan.
XDS is
no, Astana is the capital city of Kazakhstan, and XDS you haven't been keeping up with your current affairs because that is the new Chinese bicycle manufacturer that's jumping into.
I didn't know that. I've actually never heard of that. I've no idea. The only one I know is Sika. It's the only Chinese manufacturer I know.
Yeah, I've seen the XDS bike this week, a picture of them. They look pretty cool. I mean, I know very little about them, but
a lot of bikes are made out there anyway.
A lot of bikes are made out there, exactly. So I think that was probably a fail, but yeah, it definitely does show that there are big gaps in the marketing strategies of these companies. So I don't know, we're trying to draw people into the sport and sponsors. So I don't know how valuable it is for them to get involved. And it's very expensive for a company to be a title sponsor.
Do you know what EF Education is?
EF Education, it's a school. I see EF Education kids around Ireland all the time. I think they just do their language school, are they?
Do you know what Premier Tech is?
Premier Tech, no, I don't know.
It's hard. It's hard.
I didn't know I was going to get. You were going to drill me as
well.
well.
I'm just like giving them.
What's
off the
Premier
cuff.
Tech?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Just again highlighting how bad we activate these sponsorships.
Exactly. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Anthony, I'm debating whether to take on the Rapha Festive 500 this year. It sounds like a great challenge, but I'm wondering if it's actually a good idea. Is cramming 500 kilometres into 8 days over Christmas beneficial for fitness, or is it just a recipe for burnout? How would you approach it to make sure it's enjoyable and doesn't derail my training plans?
It's definitely a lot of riding. And I think the way to look at it is, how busy are you over the Christmas be one thing I would look at. Because if you're jumping off the bike and straight into family obligations and surrounded by young kids, you're going to drive up cortisol, impair immune function, the chances of you getting sick. Also, it's like, what's your deviation from your normal week? Are you normally riding 100 kilometers a week and now you're jumping up to 500? Chances are you're going to get sick or injured if you do that out the far side. And I'd be kind of, again, just like maybe reverse engineering and looking backwards and going like, what's your goal? Are you looking to just connect with friends over the Christmas period? Because I think if you are, it's a great idea. Go ride the Festive 500. Are you looking to build fitness into January? Because if you zoom out and you look at maybe an 8-week or a 6-week block, doing one block at 500 kilometers and then 150, and the rest of it probably isn't the optimum distribution of that. I think cramming that 500k into, what is it, from Christmas Eve to New Year's Eve, I think is the rules. Cramming it, especially over the holiday period, it's going to lead to fatigue, it's going to lead to burnout if you push too hard. Like that 500 kilometers, if it's zone 2 or if it's going out with friends and pushing over every hill, is a very different physiological challenge for the body. And then if you don't have time to adequately recover, I think it's maybe a recipe for disaster. But I would kind of lean on those 3 pillars of how much available time do you have to recover, what's your goal, and what's your baseline training at the moment.
People do look at this as something of a kind of, you know, this is going to keep me on the straight and narrow over Christmas. It's going to keep me pretty honest with how many glasses of wine I'm having the night before. And
like kind of a displacement. If I'm on the bike all day, I can't do anything else.
Well, just kind of like I'm getting up in the morning and I know I have to do 100 miles or whatever tomorrow. I think it's not bad. And I think also people do look at it and they think, well, you know what, I'm not working for this 8 days. So it kind of
spend a little bit of time with the family, maybe.
I have more recovery.
It's
That's what Christmas is all about. I have seen last year, I did see a couple of the influencers on Instagram and they were doing it and they were trying to finish off their 500 kilometers on Christmas Day on the indoor trainer, and they kind of had a glass of wine in their hand doing that, which I kind of thought was funny.
Influencers are kind of like a contra indicator to what you should do. Like, so that's like, don't do that.
Don't do that. I think the Festive 500 is brilliant. It's really grown legs over the last couple of years as well. It's just, look, it's a big number, 500 miles over 8 days.
Kilometers.
Oh, it's kilometers, is it? Oh, okay, but that's not too bad.
That's a big week.
Yeah, it is a big week, but it's doable. But yeah, I agree, Anthony. Good points there. Okay, next question.
We are so excited to announce that we are partnering with Whoop. Whoop are changing the game when it comes to wearable technology and health monitoring. Whoop is a wearable health and fitness coach that provides you with feedback and actionable insights into your sleep, your recovery, your training, your stress, and your overall health. Sarah and I have been using Whoop for years, and we love the insights it provides into our body's inner workings. It really gives us a look under the hood. And you're going to see Mathieu van der Poel, Richard Carapaz, and other elite level cyclists wearing Whoop, but it isn't just for those superstars. All the data is personalized to your unique physiology and fitness levels. If you're interested in taking control of your health and your fitness so that you can excel in all aspects of your life, you have to go and check out Whoop. Go to the URL now, which is join.whoop.com/roadman. I'm going to pop that in the description below, and you're going to get a free month's access to Whoop membership on me. I promise you won't regret it.
Anthony and Sarah, thanks for all your content and entertainment this year. What are the couple of moments, both in the pro peloton and personally, that stuck out for you both?
I would say getting engaged. Well, that was 2 years ago now.
You're only saying that because last year when we were asked this question, you didn't say, oh, getting engaged was the highlight of my year.
I
was like,
that.
Getting engaged?
What stuck out?
We should get married this year, though.
We should do an end of year wrap up on the podcast.
But what about getting married?
Look, maybe that's a conversation for off air. We should definitely do a wrap up on the podcast of like high moments, good bits from interviews and stuff, but we'll see. We'll throw that over to Wes to see if he wants to do that one. Highs for me, going to the Tour de France with Skoda this year was pretty cool. Getting to see some of the races in the helicopter, just having real ringside access, hanging out with Andy Schleck, things like that. That was a pretty unique insight into the pro peloton world. And then for me, I really enjoyed bike packing. Every year I enjoy bike packing. It's like, it's so much fun. I can't explain to you how much fun bike packing is if you can get people at your level that, you know, are kind of on your schedule, where they're not pushing a crazy agenda that you've no interest in, whether it's covering very little distance or covering huge distance. If you can get people that are like just friends who are closely aligned to your goals and go somewhere interesting and cool, it makes for a brilliant trip. And it's our third year doing that. It's probably the third year I throw it onto one of the best things I've done in the year.
Yeah, amazing. I think for me, so again, I would echo the Tour de France.
No, you have to do your own ones.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay. So the next up for me then is, you took all the good ones. So this year I was really fortunate to be asked to go down to Rostamon, which is our only women's stage race that we hold in Ireland, and we get riders from all over the world competing at it. It was 5 days, and that was probably the highlight of my year, going down there, being asked to present on the stage. I was that really annoying person babbling on for hours, explaining what race tactics are and stuff. That was definitely a highlight for me. And then I think the next thing has just been all of the feedback that we get on a weekly basis from everyone who listens, basically. And it's been nice this year being out and about, and people coming up and saying, "Oh, I love the show," and this is really impactful on me. I mean, I wrote a post on Instagram last week because I was sick and not training, and somebody wrote under it reminding me like not to panic, and that I had actually recorded a podcast on that topic, and they were like, "Go back and listen to your podcast on that." And I was like, "Oh yeah, this is kind of cool." And then last but not least, I have to do a massive shout out for Wes, because Wes is with us a year. He has he has basically catapulted like our content and the quality of content and video for us. So he's been another massive highlight for me for 2025.
I'll shout out that one to Wes as well. Question 4, Sarah.
Okay, heading into Christmas, I'm likely to overindulge on certain days. Should I be intermittent fasting on the other days to make up for it and create an energy balance for the week? This is tricky.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Hard no.
Hard no. I had Dr. Sharon Madigan on the podcast, recorded it yesterday. It hasn't been released. It's probably going to be a couple of weeks, 10 days or so before it's released. We talked a lot about this, and the idea is with your diet, you should be capturing easy wins. And when you think about intermittent fasting, it's a complex risk to reward ratio. The data, if you look at intermittent fasting in a vacuum, it does some good stuff. Like, it gives you a compressed feeding window. It gives you cellular autophagy benefits. But we don't intermittent fast in a vacuum like the research studies. And my position on this has changed a lot, because I used to be a big fan of it. Same. We need to integrate intermittent fasting into our lifestyle. So then you look at, okay, there is a day where I'm going to go 16 hours. If you take a typical 16-8 protocol, there's a day where I'm going to go 16 hours without any fuel. So where do I put that day? So if you put it on a Monday morning, you're likely having done a session on Sunday, which you still need glycogen to recover from, and you're going to do a high intensity session on the Tuesday, which you need to fuel. So there's no real good place, if you're training 5 times in a week, to put an intermittent fasting day. Also, a lot of the data that she was able to cite is around, we're caught in this pendulum of underfueling and overfueling, when we should be eating way more on the bike. And that's why we built that carb calculator, which we can link up below so people know exactly how much they should eat before a session. We're not eating enough before a session and on a session, and then we're coming home and we're eating too much. Like, you're sitting down in the evening for Netflix and you're eating like 1,000 calories when you needed those 1,000 calories on the bike earlier. So we're underfueling and we're overfueling. That's if you look at a training session on a day. But that's exactly what's happening with the intermittent fasting as well. We're underfueling for that 16 hours. Then we're coming off that and we're massively overfueling for that. And that underfueling, overfueling, it plays havoc with our hormones, our cortisone levels, messes about with impaired function. If you're female, it plays with menstrual cycle, and it's just generally a bad idea. So her advice, which seems to be a common thread among all the nutritionists I've talked to on the podcast, it's don't focus on short term trying to be without stuff. Really have consistent fueling across weeks and try to create small deficits when you can. But it's not about like really playing catch up because I ate 10,000 calories last night, I'm going to go without any calories today.
Yeah, and I think that's the fear with Christmas, isn't it? It's you definitely do more overindulge on certain days. I would say as well with intermittent fasting, exactly like you, Anthony, I was a huge fan of it. I often talked about the benefits, how great I felt, how fresh I felt mentally. But, you know, after working with a nutritionist this year, I've just found that I've started to realise that it's not good for me personally. I think
slows your metabolism a lot as well.
Oh, totally. It messes you up, especially if you're doing it as often as I was. So this question is though heading into Christmas. So this isn't something that this person wants to do continuously. It's just like,
it's the same voice
I've overindulged.
Like your body doesn't know, and this was again something, sorry to cut across you, like your body doesn't understand dates and times.
That it's Christmas.
It doesn't go, oh, it's midnight, oh, it's Sunday night, and it resets. Like, it doesn't understand that it's Christmas. It understands you're massively overfueling, you're massively underfueling.
Yeah, I agree. I think as well, look, enjoy Christmas. I mean, try and, you know, if you're worried about putting on weight and stuff, I honestly just think enjoy yourself to a certain degree over the festive period and try not worry about it. There's not really that much damage you can do over 2 days of the Christmas period. So go and have a very happy Christmas. Okay, next question. Is it possible to self-coach for an event like Badlands? It's a good question.
I think there's a lot of problems with that. Firstly, anything self-assessment wise, you're going to bring your own bias to the situation. So when you're coaching yourself, it is easy to overlook your weaknesses or to push too hard on your strengths without having that external perspective. You can underestimate the importance of stuff like recovery, or you can overestimate your current fitness or your chance of injury or burnout. Just any sort of perspective on any of those elements is difficult to get when you're coming with that bias. I also think, depending on the type of person you are, if you're super motivated type A person who's targeting something like Badlands, you're at a risk of overtraining. And a coach's role at all time is to pull on the reins so you don't overdo things. The old adage, like, you're better off being 10% undercooked than 1% overcooked. And then technically, I think, unless you're someone with a lot of free time on your hands, like, you know, if you've a chore to do in the house, whether it's like hanging a door or building a shelf, can you do that? Of course you can go on YouTube and you can figure out how to do that. The resources are there to learn that skill, but is it an effective use of your time? For most people on that, the answer is no. Like, to understand periodization, like traditional versus standard periodization versus reverse and randomly assigned intensity in the week, it's not rocket science, but it does take a commitment to figure it out. Again, progressive overload. Can you figure it out? Yeah, probably you can if, you know, you're academically minded, but it's easier again to just get somebody else to do it, especially in an era now where we have more and more data, and Training Peaks, which is the tool most of us are using for delivering sessions. It is quite a data driven tool with, you know, CTL, TSS, ATL, TSB. It's just like give you a migraine listening to those acronyms. And then for me, one of the main benefits I always get from working with a coach is that it's consistency. It's like you kind of think there's somebody looking over and making sure you're doing what you're doing. So are you going to show up and do your session late at night when you should skip it, or you shouldn't skip it, but the temptation is to skip it if you're self-coached, and maybe move rest days around. So I think it's a bad idea to be self-coached. I think okay, for something like Badlands, I mean for anything, but whatever your target goal is in a year, I'm going to be doing Badlands this year. I can't even imagine going into that uncoached because I just don't have the knowledge. And what a really kind of important thing that I've noticed is anyone who's ever coached me, even though they are a coach, will also have a coach. It's like your shrink should also have a shrink. It's just you need that expertise and somebody, as you said, from the outside looking in. If this listener is going to do Badlands, and it's probably, like, for me, unless you're like, you know, a pro cyclist or semi-pro or full-time, this is a huge deal. This is a very big 3-4 days of really pushing yourself very, very hard. You need someone in your corner making sure that you've got all of your T's dotted or T's crossed. As well, tech, exactly. Advice, loads of other advice. How to pace, having a look at what climbs are coming up in the first 100 kilometers. A little bit of advice about when to drink, when to eat. Like, you need that person in your corner if you really want to go and give Badlands a proper. Do you know what I think it is? But hang on, let me just finish this. If you really want to go and give it a proper stab, and even if, as I said, you're not at the front end, at the pointy end, if you really want to go and enjoy it and not be hanging on for dear life or getting yourself into trouble because it's not a
distance that should be kind of sniffed at, get yourself a coach.
But I think what you said there is the main thing is no one else cares. Like, you know, if you're a pro, whatever, chances are you're not going to do Badlands. It's a bit of a jogger event, but no one else cares. Like, you'll see your friend circle, no one really cares. Even your close cycling circle, everyone has their own targets, and we're all so self-obsessed. You're paying somebody to care. You're paying somebody to be invested in this journey, to celebrate it with you. Like, I love getting a text off one of my clients saying their target event went really well. Like, I'm so invested in that journey with them, and I'm bummed out if it doesn't go well for them.
Of course. I know that, I think we're going to get some comments here about this question saying, you know, of course we'd sell, you know, snow to the Eskimos because we have a coaching company, so therefore we're definitely going to be saying get a coach. So I'd love to hear anybody who does self-coach, or, you know, please in the comments, like, drop us a line as to how that's gone for you if you completely disagree with this, because I'd love to hear the rationale. Okay, next question. Anthony, I've been on a few group rides lately where people skip turns at the front but still sprint for town signs or the cafe. It's starting to frustrate the group. What's the etiquette here? Should everyone take their fair share of work, or is it okay to sit in and save energy for the sprint?
Look, I have a totally different view of group rides than a lot of people here. It's like, I don't care if you want to sit on the back all day on a group ride. Like, there's no idea of you need to share work evenly on a group ride. Like, where did that come from? Why do you think you need to share work evenly on a group ride? Let the strongest riders ride all day.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if our group is quite, it's in the, you know, minority, but that is definitely the way we do. We very much take care of the weaker riders. And if you are having a bad day, or if you're not strong, there's no shame in sitting down the back and not doing a tour.
But the opposite to that, not even no shame. Like, if you're strong and you're suffering, you're like getting in the way a bit.
Yeah,
like,
it's encouraged.
Like, no one wants somebody that's going to fall apart and have to get pushed home. So if you're doing a turn and you're on the rivet, you're zone 4 or zone 5, trying to pull a turn at the front.
But what about in this instance where, you know, there's a strong rider maybe, and they aren't doing any work up the front just because they want the kudos of the sprinting to the
No, I think you've added in that strong rider part.
No, I have. I'm just saying in that scenario, if there's somebody hiding down the back, just be a bit sneaky.
Yeah, but do you not think they have like a different goal for the day? You know, say I go out on the group spin and I don't ride through and I sit on all day because I actually only want a zone 1 ride and not a zone 2 or a zone 3 ride. Or
maybe they want to sprint because they want to want to do some sprint efforts in the
it's just a bizarre. It's a bizarre.
Yeah, I'm with you. I
take on group spin that we all have to ride through and we all have to do the exact same amount of stuff. We all come from very different athletic backgrounds. We're all different categories. We all have different thresholds. The group spin is just about having a bit of crack and enjoying yourself and being social and learning to be a part of the group.
I think, I don't know if anyone from our group goes home and writes down in a little black book, oh, well, Sarah didn't do a turn today and F her, maybe, and she shouldn't be coming out in the spin anymore, and Grania had to do all the riding up the front, and Anthony was this. I just don't think anyone, I just think, whoa, what a weird perspective on the group ride if you're noticing that people aren't doing anything up the front. It's just my opinion.
Before we jump into the next question, just a shout out for the newsletter, because a lot of people were asking for this and we finally put it together. We're 3+ podcasts every single week. There's 3 to 5 hours of content every week, and people are missing stuff and they're missing the main point some weeks. So we decided to do a once a week 4-minute read maximum newsletter where you can get the very best 1 point, actionable point from the week's podcast guests, and it's called the Saturday Spin newsletter. And you can sign up just going to roadmancycling.com/Saturday Spin, and that's going to get you onto the newsletter. Coming hot every Saturday.
Yeah, it's really cool. Okay, last question. Anthony, we had a couple of complaints over the last couple of weeks, mostly about our segment. And every time we do talk about this on Rider Support,
because there's so many shit group rides out there. I can see this question already. Go on, read it out.
Basically, this is one question, but there were a lot kind of, with similar sentiment. Hi Anthony, I watched your recent YouTube video where you talk about not calling things out on a group ride, and I really don't agree with this. Surely calling out stops or hazards is just common sense. If the group is pushing hard and approaching a light, shouting, stopping or slowing helps everyone back off safely, especially those on the limit or not paying full attention. The same goes for holes or debris. You might not know exactly where it is, but at least people can be aware and ready. Not calling things out seems like saying, Drivers shouldn't bother indicating because people should be looking ahead, but we all know that that's not realistic. Cycling inches off someone's wheel means you cannot see everything, so communication feels essential. So Anthony, what do you suggest as an alternative to call-outs? I'm genuinely curious to hear your reasoning.
I think he's hit the nail on the head that communication is essential. And that's where my problem with the call-outs is. It's an ineffective style of communication. If you're coming up and you're shouting hole, that in my experience causes more problems than it solves. That people are nervous, as he identified, people are nervous, they're on the rivet, they're not paying full attention, there may be overlapping wheels, and then you hear a loud shout, hole. And now are we meant to judge the depth of the hole from the volume of the shout? What if it's quite a meek character, has seen the hole and don't shout it loud enough, and all of a sudden it's a crater? It's just an ineffective way to pass messages along. Also, the group is wide. It occupies, if it's 2x2, and 10 riders long, it's occupying the same space on the road as a bus nearly. So it's like you hear hole. Where's the hole? Is it front left? Is it back right? Is it right down the middle? What I advocate, and which I've only ever seen in pro groups, is smaller gestures of hand signals to point out hole. Pointing or little flicks of the wrist to show there's an obstacle on my left, there's an obstacle on the right, there's an obstacle on the centre. Nobody's getting panicked with shouts. As soon as you hear a shout, it's like, my nerves are gone. It's like, what? Where's the hole? It's
but
like,
it also becomes background noise. When there's constant hole or oil or whatever, you don't hear it anymore.
Exactly.
It's too much.
And that's my kind of ultimate point, why we use hand flicks and gestures to point out holes that are, you wouldn't want to hit them, but they're not a hole it's not going to end the world and take the group down if you hit it. Now all of a sudden in a quiet group, when you hear a shout, there's a problem that everybody needs to look at.
Absolutely.
There's a car careering towards the group, there's black ice coming up, there's a huge hole in the middle of the road, there's an unmanned manhole, there's something that needs our attention. Otherwise, how do you escalate the previous?
I totally agree. If anyone shouts on our group spin, it's serious. You perk your ears up and you listen and you action it. I think as well his point where he's like, okay, if you're on the rivet, you're really suffering, then these shouts are essential. But I totally disagree. As somebody who is quite often on the rivet, you're not listening when you're in a world of pain like that.
But you want clear communication when you're that tired.
Exactly. Yeah, you want absolutely clear communication.
Actionable communication that you go, okay, I can take a positive, proactive stance around alter my line, braking, whatever it is. And the other one of stop and slowing down is just ridiculous.
Slowing. No, that is mental, isn't it?
You shouldn't be. If you're dependent on calls of stopping and slowing, you've created a total culture of inattention within your group, which is just not acceptable because you're responsible for the person's safety behind you, to the left of you, to the right of you. There's a minimum level of attention that is necessitated by a part of the group, and having crutches like that we rely on to understand whether to stop or slow. It's you can bring a blind person out in the group ride, they can navigate just off audio prompts.
I totally agree with you. Stopping and slowing. I mean, I have been in groups like this, and they're terrifying. It's awful, and they're always the types of groups who don't have any cohesive actions. There's no leaders. It's all over the road. It seems dangerous.
I think that's the wrong thing though. But there is a leader, but it's someone is given the wrong information, and that wrong information has been indoctrinated.
Maybe I've as I said, I've been on a couple of rides like this where people have been roaring and shouting, and I just find it that they are the most unorganized groups, and they're using the shouting, roaring, top of their voice bellowing as kind of a crutch. I mean, imagine if someone came out in our group and they hit something, they were like, oh, why didn't you shout hole? It's just, well, keep your eyes peeled.
No, but I think as well, if I hit a hole and I'm on someone's wheel, yeah, I'm pissed. That's not what I'm saying here. No,
I'm saying they shouted hole.
Yeah, but we still need to have the communication system. It needs to be such that stuff is still getting pointed out, but
totally.
Not. Yeah. Nothing drives me more up the wall than I've broke a set of carbon wheels before in a race because some idiot just swerved around a hole at the last minute. It just needed a little small gesture for me to change my line. And so that's a pet gripe of mine also.
Yeah, so do some kind of a signal, but we're not roaring and shouting.
Have we got one to go?
Whatever works for you. We'll have one more.
Transform your indoor cycling with Rouvy, the platform that brings real-world routes and augmented reality to your training. Whether you're preparing for a big event or you're just looking to explore, Rouvy lets you experience legendary rides like Alpe and Passo de Stelvio from the comfort of your home. Rouvy's unique augmented reality technology uses real-life video and GPS data to create the most realistic cycling experience available. You'll feel every climb, descent and turn with precise terrain replication, giving you an authentic outdoor ride indoors. Plus, with AR elements like avatars and banners, the ride really feels totally immersive and interactive. With over 1,500 routes and 25,000 kilometers, the world's most iconic cycling destinations, Rouvy is perfect for cyclists of all levels. Whether you want to enjoy scenic routes, participate in group rides, or push your limits with advanced training plans, Rouvy has you covered. Rouvy also offers flexible pricing, allowing you to pause your subscription or choose duo or group plans to share the experience. From exploring new places to serious training, Rouvy has something for every cyclist. Ready to ride the world? Visit rouvy.com and start your journey today.
Anthony, you know that one guy on every group ride who just has to tell you they hit 400 watts for 10 seconds last week like it's some world record. How do you deal with the power numbers guys without losing your mind? Is there a polite way to tell them to stop giving us PowerPoint presentation on their FTP mid-ride?
That's never annoyed me, really. Maybe I'm that guy.
Maybe you're that guy.
Also, 400 watts for 10 seconds. Like,
I could probably do that.
Best sprint I've ever heard. I might beat you at one leg.
I don't know. Like, this is more about how do you deal with people in life that are telling you stuff that you don't really have much interest in. It's like, have you got no social skills to kind of say, okay, we'll steer the conversation a different way?
So I think you deal with it the same way Frankie Boyle said he deals with drunk people in Glasgow pubs when they're giving them like their version of how you solve world peace and hunger. He said you just put a firm but gentle hand on their shoulder and you say, you enjoy your night, mate.
I don't know. I don't think that's not something you're going to do. I think you just kind of grin and bear it and be polite, and hopefully the line rolls through and then you don't have to sit and talk to that person.
So if you're beside me and I say, you enjoy your night, mate, you know what happened.
You will know.
Roman, thanks for tuning in to another podcast. There's another episode I think you're going to love up here. And please subscribe to the channel and you enjoy your night, mate.